Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Good to Know Shreveport-Bossier. This is our podcast. We showcase all the good things happening in our community, minus him. This is I'm Jeff Binefor. This is Paul Reeser. He's a local businessman, member of the Committee of 100. And every podcast, we focus on topics and initiatives having positive impacts throughout the Shreveport-Bossier. With all new episodes every other Wednesday, you can find Good to Know wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, I'll allow Mr. Reeser to do the introductions of our special guest.
Mr. Reeser?
Yeah, that's a rare respect that I'm paying you today.
It's up high from the fry guy or whatever. Well, thank you. And man, I'm excited, super excited, because one of our favorite topics is economic development here on the podcast.
Right,
and today we have two big guns. We're talking local experts on economic development, and today we're going to be talking specifically about the resurgence of the film industry and what that means to the area.
Are there any names in our immediate future?
Yes.
Okay.
The experts I'm referring to, of course, Arlena Acree. Now, she's been in Shreveport. If you've been around a while, you know her forever. She is used to be the director of economic development for the mayor's office for many years. Now she started her own production company, Real Faith Films.
Nice.
Also, Rockett. I got to go because this acronym always throws me off a little bit. He is the executive director of the Greater Bossier Economic Development Foundation.
That's correct.
And these two know their stuff, so I'm excited that you guys are here today. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, glad to be here.
Absolutely. Why do people get so excited about the film industry when we say?
So we're talking about G-Unit Studios and stuff.
G-Unit is a big thing that's got it resurgent. I guess we'll talk about what is going on. What's the resurgence? What's causing it?
Ladies first.
I think it's always been exciting. From day one, and I say day one after Katrina. We really got into the industry full-fledged, and I think everybody just loves the excitement of the movie industry and television shows, and now that 50 has. Curtis Jackson has made his announcement. It's brought it up to another level.
First name basis with 50. I call him Mr. Cent.
Well, I call him 50. So.
I call him Sir.
Rockett just calls him.
I just call him. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. That's right. So.
Rockett, what do you think is the cause of this resurgence all of a sudden?
Well, I think that
or is it all of a sudden?
Well, I think we've had onesie and twosie film projects over the last several years. It hasn't been at the level it was from 2015 back to about 2006 when it really had a huge resurgence. We think we did, and Arlena, keep me honest, about $1.5 billion in movies in that between 2006 and 2015. It was a significant number.
Up to that point was about 183 film and television projects.
So we had a significant presence. Yeah. We were actually, Arlena and I and a few others would travel out to Los Angeles to meet studio heads and the production people because it was all based on budgets, and our world is all based on budgets. So we didn't really interact a lot with celebrities, didn't interact a lot with the writers, interacted a lot with the production people and the studios to say, hey, you can go a lot longer with your dollar here if you do your project in Northwest Louisiana. So for us, that's the exciting part. For the community, going to one of the steakhouses and seeing everybody from Val Kilmer to Michael Douglas to Catherine Zeta-Jones all at the same time in the restaurant kind of gives you a little cachet. It makes it kind of fun.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah. So things were booming, and then they kind of, I don't want to say fizzled out, but that is kind of what happened, right?
Well, they started going back to New Orleans once New Orleans got back on track. Yeah. And other cities too. Atlanta, New Mexico still has some good tax incentives. So.
And then now they're coming back. So tell us why they're coming back.
Well, I think it's what Rocky said. We got really good things to look forward to. The ease of getting around Shreveport and Bossier, 15-20 minutes. Right. You can do 2 or 3 locations in one day. That saves a movie production a lot of money. Hotel cost, food cost is all inexpensive compared to other cities, even our sister cities in New Orleans.
So it's all that budget stuff you were talking about.
It goes back to budget. One of the interesting things about Hurricane Katrina is that it took about 5 years before insurance companies would consider insuring a film in a hurricane alley. So we were beneficiaries of that because you could get lower rates of insurance for a film in this market, and you still can because we're not affected overall by the weather to damage sets or delay production and so forth and create scheduling issues.
This is stuff people don't think about. Nobody thinks about that kind of thing, right?
No.
Correct.
Unless you're the producer.
They do because it costs money to buy hurricane insurance.
Yeah, I'm talking about, people like me that have no idea what's going on.
Right,
right. It is unbelievable.
So a lot of us have heard about the excitement around 50 Cent opening G-Unit Studio. We're changing the name of Millennium Studios to G-Unit Studios. And what does that mean?
What does G-Unit stand for? Do we know?
I don't know if I know.
I don't think I know.
Because I'm trying to think.
I still don't know how he got the name 50. Okay, I'm sure there's some. Hey, we'll find out. Let you know next time.
That's right.
Appreciate
That's right.
What is
Wait a
going to be
minute. What
going
was
on?
that? Say that again. What? They're talking in my ear.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is that the voices in your head again?
Gorilla Unit. That's what it stands
Okay.
for.
Gorilla Unit. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
That
Thank
makes
you.
a lot
That
of
upstairs.
sense.
I have no idea.
Marketing.
The voice from above comes through, doesn't it?
Wow. I have those connections.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
What's going to be going on at G-Unit Studio, and what do we see to come from that?
Well, right now they're doing still the restoration. Like there was a flooding issue last year, and so they're addressing that right now. So I think I'll be meeting with their head of production soon again, and I think you're going to see some activity happening this summer.
So I'm interested, like all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, I know that was work behind the scenes going on for a while to get these guys here, but did you go out and advertise and say, hey, great deal available, a big movie studio available in Shreveport? I mean, is that pretty much how it worked?
If I can answer that, the studio itself had a lot of positive attributes in Los Angeles from the ownership previously. Okay. There was a lot of, it's unusual to have a studio of the caliber with the special effects division that it had in there to market. So it had opportunity. It just needed to have some bigger space to actually make it more marketable. And I think that's what Mr. Jackson's looking at doing, is to add space. One of the reasons I think some of the things are actually coming back here, frankly, is it does some legislation. So Georgia did some legislation that was not pro-film mindset, so to speak. And some of the other opportunities here were New Orleans has a lot of activities, so their studios aren't always available. And then the rollover site for Baton Rouge isn't always available, so now the rollover site for here is available. So when you fill up a warehouse in New Orleans and fill up a warehouse in Baton Rouge, you look for the next warehouse, so to speak, and that's what's put us back in play, because we're still available for the same incentive. Plus, we add an extra 5% outside of the central New Orleans district. So if you do a project here, you can add another 5% to your incentive package.
Okay.
Incentives, you're talking about tax incentives.
Tax incentives, correct.
For the companies
That's correct.
coming in. So we lost the tax incentives for a while. You say some of our some things that we did were not, as a state, were not friendly to the film industry, as well as why a lot of them went to Georgia.
In 2015 or 16, there was a pause, and the spirit of the pause was right, because the state was giving out the incentive packages, but they weren't able to budget for it. In other words, I'm going to give you a credit. Now, when do you use that credit? There was no limitation to the credit. So if you do a $100 million tax credit and use it 2 or 3 years later, the state can't budget for that. So they were trying to do that. So they had to take a pause, which did leave some folks holding the bag for a period of time they weren't expecting it. And that put a bad taste in some of the production's mouths, understandably. But I think we're back in the swing where they understand, okay, we've got our ducks in a row. We can do that business side and create that incentive package. We can hold to it and go forth with it. Everybody understands the same rules and plays by the same game.
So Louisiana as a whole is bouncing back to get production.
Oh yeah, and after that pause, I mean, we really never lost production totally.
Okay.
It did slow down. The whole state did, actually. But we still have some of the best tax incentives in the U.S. We got 25% on the first level. Then you have
what does that mean when you say first level?
That means that what their expenditures are. So tax credit.
Okay.
And then if your production was written by a Louisiana screenwriter, then you get an additional 10. Okay. So do the math. I mean, it's up to 40% if they come to Shreveport-Bossier.
Nice.
Because they're out of the New Orleans area for shooting, they get an extra 5. So.
Yeah, we had heard from local Oscar-winning director and writer Bill Bryce, also a previous. When I say Bill Bryce,
yes, you did. But I didn't.
That's why he gives me so much grief, because I don't know what I'm doing. But Bill Joyce was here, and he said that that the tax incentives are going to actually incentivize local writers and directors. So that's exciting.
That's right.
To build up our state even more with local talent.
That's his pen name, Bill Bryce.
Bill Bryce.
That's his pen name. That's his nom de plume.
Was that Walk in the Woods or something like that? Is he an author?
You know, Paul, you hit on something there. So I always like to go back to the origin of why this was created in the first place. The origin when Governor Blanco created a film office and the film and tax incentive was to try to stem the flow of talent out of Louisiana. And so we have spent generations of creative culture that, who knows what's in the water here, we have significant creative culture that comes out of Louisiana and Northwest Louisiana. And it all has gone different directions, either it be LA or whether it be New York or whether it be some other talent central area. We've lost it. So that was the genesis of why we did that in the first place, was to try to keep the talent and find a mechanism so they can work here in Northwest Louisiana and Louisiana as a whole. So at one time, and Arlena, I don't know if you remember this, we hired a fella, David Dodd, to run a survey. I want to say 2009, 2008, somewhere in there. And he took the top 25 Billboard country music list. And out of the top 25, 20 of them had somebody with a direct tie to Northwest Louisiana.
Nice.
Whether it be the author, the writer, the singer, the guitarist, whomever was in the production, what have you, there was a direct tie somewhere in the top 20, the top 25.
Pretty cool. Speaking of local talent, I just heard you started your own production company, Arlena.
Yes. Well, I had a hiccup. My business partner did pass away during COVID, and so I haven't given up. I'm actually writing a script about our grandson who went through cancer and all that. Will be based on a true story, but
that's a miracle story.
I had a calling from God to do this, so I'm still working on it. This old girl's still working.
So that's Real Faith Studios.
Yeah, Real Faith Films.
You're a producer and writer with in your own studio.
Yeah.
So I know you've been associated with the movie production here in Northwest Louisiana from the very beginning. What was your call to it so early on?
Well, I was director of economic development during that time under Mayor Keith Hightower, and it was transitioning because Cedric Glover had just been elected mayor. So anyway, he made me in charge of the film and entertainment, and I was still doing a little bit of economic development at that time. Then Ollie Tyler came on, so I was director of economic development and doing film as well. So 20 years with the city doing this. Well, 12 or 13 with the movie industry.
What kind of strange things do you learn working with behind the scenes with the movie industry?
You know what? I love the behind the scenes, because that's when you go on set, and Rocky's been there. I mean, we were out there the night of when the Guardian shot at the Wave Tank, and they all got seasick.
Oh, really?
Even the stunt guys got seasick, and I mean, not that that's a good thing to see, but
no, but
but it was like
it's funny.
This is like a for real set, you know, and it's like, because it makes such wonderful variation of waves, and in fact, it was just used on The Chosen a couple of years ago.
That's right.
When God walked on water, that part of, you know, so well, it's still in use. It is, and it's still working.
Nice.
We've got some remarkable assets here at Shreveport that were built early on. This studio, like I said, Millennium Studio is I can't believe it's not big enough. There's several sound stages in there. There's other studios in town. What are some of the things that we have in town that are attracting people, like the giant wave tank? What is this wave tank you're talking about?
Well, it's in the Slack Industrial Park, and I don't know if you've driven by there and you see these big green screens. But
I have not. But
okay, but that's.
I'm going to make it a point to do it.
Yeah, but you can actually, I think, on our website, you know, see some video footage of it. You know, during that time.
Made that for was the
Guardian.
I saw the movie several times. I liked it.
Yeah.
It looked like it was the ocean, but it was really right over here in Shreveport.
You know, it's fascinating what that is. It's actually nothing more than little towers with barrels. Half barrels have water that run in them over and over, and there's a guy standing on top of it that has a chute, and they just do the water down there, and that's what creates the waves. So it's actually Kevin Costner hanging from
and it's
a crane,
hydraulics,
and it's all moving water in a water chute, like a slide.
So if somebody wants to make a film, they can come to Shreveport. We've got the studios. We've got this water tank that's state of the art, one of the biggest in the world. I understand. Correct. And also, you can make Shreveport look like any place, right?
That's correct. You can do that.
And we have a, I guess, 17th century village, Salem, the TV series, that's still intact.
That's right.
So even though there was this pause that you talked about, there were still projects going on, right? I mean, everybody thought the film industry was kind of dead, but there were things happening.
We still have projects going on.
You know, the most recent one I think about that was in that pause was the Netflix series when Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson did their, I can't think of the name of it. It was a great show.
They were road agents or something?
Yeah, that's right. They were early FBI agents or Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
They were hunting. It was a great series. But that
I
was
watched
one.
It was good.
Yeah, and that's one that was.
So it's not just independent studios coming to town; it's Netflix. And who is coming and doing movies?
Well, we just wrapped a movie. They came and scouted with me last year, and they came and shot. And it was called Drowning, and it was a small indie movie. But hey, we'll take any budgets.
Yeah.
They do spend money no matter what level their budgets are. So, but they had a great experience. In fact, I'm going to be getting Rocky and I on the phone with them because they want to tell us their experiences, and if we could do something better, Rocky and I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of amazing the number of film and television projects that go on. I mean, a lot of people, you don't realize this, but you got to feed the beast, right? I mean, especially in television.
Correct.
We just had American Pickers here. I don't know if y'all are aware of that.
I saw them in town.
Yeah.
It's content is king at this point. So you're always, think about what you were watching on Netflix 6 months ago, if you can remember that. So you're always looking for the next series, and they're always needing to fill that content because they have contracts to fill. You know, we worked with this other studio, was announced a few weeks ago, is at Trouble Muse, that's in St. Vincent Mall, and who they're shipping product to, everybody from Netflix to a variety of different markets, whether it be European or Asian markets. I mean, they feed a lot, like you said, feed the beast. It's feed the content beast and keep going with it. So everybody's got to take a look at it and keep going and try to figure out, okay, I got to keep going for that next product, that next audience demand is there.
I mean, I go through that every day on a way smaller scale, just doing the news, right? We got to feed the newscast.
That's right. That's right.
The next cast, and then we do like 9.5 hours a day, so it's just constant going after stuff.
That's right.
Same deal in the movie industry, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, are we creating a larger pipeline of production staff here locally that they can come and do the whole production here beginning to end?
You know, it's funny you said that, Paul. During that period of time between 6 and 15, we had a significant amount of crew in this area who bought houses, who, you know, built a permanent base here, and then the pause, they had to find work. So several of them left. But the interesting about market in Northwest Louisiana is a lot of them kept their houses. They could rent them or Airbnb them or maintain them and keep them as a base. So this is a chance for a lot of those folks to come back and then build that crew base back up. And we're talking about that with G Unit folks, Trouble Muse folks. I think Mr. Joyce has talked about it in the past, and others have talked about how we can build that talent pool back in this area. Now, the talent pool is also, when I say talent pool, it's not first-line actors always. It's everybody from makeup artists to hairstylists to grips who do the construction work to food and culinary. I mean, you got to think about how everything is serviced on these sets and on these sites.
Costume designers, groundskeepers, I mean, it goes on and on, grip and electric. But they are planning, G Unit is planning on doing some type of training program. We did that years ago after Katrina. It was very successful. It was like a 6-week program, and we partnered with the city of Shreveport for funding for training dollars in the state of Louisiana. And it was very successful and really turned out some really, really good crew that we needed at that time.
And I'm assuming a lot of those folks are still around here, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of them are New Orleans. They might be in Austin. I've had a few calls, and they're going to be moving back. So
nice.
Yeah.
So all the things that we hear about that are going to surround the G Unit, how many permanent people will he have on his staff, or is this all going to be contract workers, or do we know?
I don't have that answer.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I know there's going to be permanent staff, but I don't know how many.
All right, well, just curious. So what's the next big project in the pipeline? Do we have a handle on that? Or?
Well, I was working with Wade and Marshall yesterday on Warner Brothers needing locations. So occasionally, you know, we get the calls, we need location photos. So my gallery of locations is incredible. It's like, so, and if I don't have the photos, I go out and take them for locations, because that's part of the bringing them here. You got to prove that you have the locations for their project.
I can just say that she's talking to Warner Brothers. Paramount was here 2 weeks ago looking for sites, and there was another studio here looking for sites the week before that.
Okay.
So we get the emails that come through about what we're needing, and whether it be prisons or a church in 1930 U.S. Midwest. I mean, they do see us, and we have this reputation, and I'm going to brag a little bit on somebody.
Sure.
I have been to the studio heads at Paramount, Screen Gems, Warner Brothers, and the first question out of everybody's mouth is, how's Arlena? I am not kidding. Wow. Arlena established this area as a true film hub and has done some fine work. And I just kind of look at it, oh, she's doing fine. Wow. Okay.
Still
cool.
doing it.
Yeah, she's doing great. But
well, that's kind of cool that people think of you like that, isn't it?
Well, I still have their phone numbers. And I still have actors' phone numbers in my phone. You know, I don't abuse
you
it.
got Kevin Costner's number. Slide it over.
No, I don't have his.
I heard he was great when he came to town.
He was
really
super
nice guy.
He's been here 3 times.
Yeah.
So we had one house in our neighborhood that was a nice house, and it was up for rent. Apparently, every movie star that came through Bossier stayed at that. We call it the movie star house.
Yeah.
And some of them were very, very friendly.
Yeah.
Like Samuel Jackson, he would wave.
Oh, yeah.
He went by. He was golfing every day.
Yeah.
And then some of them would just, put the door down and didn't want, which I understand. I mean, big celebrities, you probably get that.
Yeah, sure, all the time.
Celebrity, people stalking you. I know the kids in the neighborhood knocked on the door and tried to take them brownies, and they were like, nah, the butler sent them away.
I do have a Kevin Costner story, though. So back when I worked in Wichita, Kansas, at the time, Wichita State was the big, in college baseball, they were kind of like LSU. And Fresno State came to town for a regional, and way up at the top of the stands was this dude all alone. I said, I think that's Kevin Costner, who was in the press box.
Yeah.
And it was, but he was a Fresno State fan, and he just was up all by himself watching the baseball game. So
that's funny.
Whatever. I never met him, I just saw him.
He pulled over at Airline High School and
guy.
went out and did batting practice with him one day.
Did he?
He's a big baseball guy.
Yeah, well, he's made enough baseball movies. So.
I got a funny story along those lines, too.
Yeah.
My daughter, at the time, when she was 6 or 7 years old, came through the living room, and Top Gun was on the TV.
Yeah.
And she goes, hey, Daddy, that's the Maverick guy. I ate lunch with him yesterday. And I'm like, what? And she was saying, no, I ate lunch with that guy. Him and his baby. I play with them all the time. So his wife at the time, Katie Holmes, was here filming. And I called the school and I said, hey, just out of curiosity, I know they're using y'all's parking lot for trailers. And he goes, oh, yeah. In fact, the kids, and my daughter's name was Caroline, Caroline had kind of taken to the babies, and she always has, and was playing with Siri Cruz the whole time that they were in town, and would meet them at recess, and they loved taking Caroline places.
That's a good story.
Caroline never told me that,
World,
so
man.
Yeah, it really
so Caroline and Tom were like that.
Very cool.
I don't know if we're rounded up. He'll tell me in a minute. He'll say we've only got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But back to
we got a little bit more than that, but not much.
Part of it. It is fun. You start, movies are exciting. I want to ask Arlena, how do you get to be an extra? How do you get involved in the movie stuff?
Well, usually we'll make those announcements via all the media outlets, and I used to send them out constantly. So that and all of the media outlets have been just so supportive of the industry. So when we would do street closures, road closures, or anything like that, we would go through all the media sources.
But for Paul and I, you're just going to give us behind the scenes.
I'll just give you a call.
We got parts for you guys. Come on over, yeah.
He'll call you.
Right.
I've actually helped some of the casting with some of these movies
Call
too.
my people.
When one of the concerns that I hear some business people say, well, they're taking away tax dollars, they're giving all these people incentives. What does it mean financially for? We give them an incentive for a reason. We want them to come to town, right? So, what is the economic impact when a movie comes to town? Positive for the area.
That's a really good way to split those hairs. So if you don't have the incentive, you don't have the opportunity, period, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the job
because somebody's
numbers.
giving it somewhere.
Correct.
Yeah.
Somebody else is giving it somewhere. And so we're talking about 55% of, let's just say $100 million in an actual film budget, right? Let's say that film has 35, 40 people below the line that's working. They're all earning, and they'll have to stay here for the 6 or 8 week period they're making a movie. Now, this is just on a location shoot. This isn't a studio film, okay? This is not a studio located here. It's a different dynamic. They're going to rent, like you said, at the hotel. They're going to spend money for food. They're going to spend money for goods. They're going to spend money for what have you while they're here. Lumber, what
dry
have you.
cleaning.
Then you have everything that goes along with the film itself. Because I actually worked with the Guardian folks to get them a credit at Home Depot, and they spent $5 or $6 million at Home Depot here. Then, of course, you built a swimming pool here. Then you built, everything that goes along with that. So,
and there's all the sales tax and everything associated.
That's right. That generates that.
The employment tax.
That's right. The back end of it, to me, is an easy understanding than the initial give. That's based on every incentive package to me. So.
And if we're going to compete with Georgia or Hollywood or anywhere, you have to give incentives.
Not to mention, it's the best PR you can buy for the state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
They like Northwest Louisiana, Shreveport-Bossier in LA. Now, government LA hates us because we're taking all kinds of product away from them. I've actually gotten chewed out from, I forgot the name of that bank. that bank that called me and ripped me one time because they we took a project from them, and they were furious. Pacific Capital, I think it was. And they ripped into me about that. I was like, hey guys, do better.
Did you apologize?
No, I said do better. Hang up the phone.
No apologies.
No, I was kidding. I knew that was a no.
It's pretty competitive when we would go out and set up our booths in LA and promote, our region. Well, it is very competitive.
Well, we got like a couple minutes now.
But I did see a number, just for big numbers, that in 2022, the film industry accounted for $286 million of resident payroll in Louisiana and $607 million of in-state expenditures. And that was 2022 when the film industry was just starting to kind of get back.
Correct.
So, I mean, it is in the millions and
that's
billions.
not insignificant, is it?
No.
No, it's not.
No.
It's
so,
huge.
all right, the last couple minutes we got here, leave us with some final thoughts about what's coming and what we should look forward to in the next year or two.
We hope to be announcing projects not only with G-Unit, but some other projects that are coming in. And
is G-Unit
it has sparked a lot
show?
of interest with other production companies,
yeah,
too.
I bet it has, yeah.
But from the very beginning, I mean, he has a plan for a show that he's going to be producing there specifically.
I think there's probably going to be several shows.
Okay.
I know they're going to be doing television stuff.
One of the interesting moments you have when you play in this kind of industry is just random run-ins. And Mark Harmon and I had a conversation from NCIS. And
cool.
I was talking about television. And he said, if you can land a studio that does television projects, that's 9 months worth of work. That's what you want. You want
constant.
people. He goes, I'm not leaving LA because I go home at night and I see my family.
Yeah.
But once you create a studio that does long-term television projects, then they can build their family here and they can grow. And that keeps a permanence of expenditures in your market.
But ideally, you want both.
Absolutely.
Right.
You want to do a film wheel.
Right.
You want to do everything from studio films to television to animation and have everybody that's employed in
reality
that
shows,
entire section.
TV shows, commercial, really good, commercial ads.
Yeah,
they come in too.
Yeah, well, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, absolutely.
They spend a lot of money.
All right, well, that's going to about wrap it up for us. You guys come back sometime and update us on how everything's going, okay?
We'll do.
We will.
All right.
Thanks,
Very
everybody.
exciting. I know it's not easy. It sounds all glamorous, my kids playing with the cruises, but I know you're traveling. You guys are working hard. Arlena, you've been doing this forever. Work hard to go out and convince people. I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, Arlena Acree and Rockett telling us all about how the film industry is having a resurgence in Shreveport-Bossier, right?
Correct.
It is a resurgence.
It's resurgence.
Yes.
That's
correct.
how we call it.
Yes,
all
it
right.
is.
Yes.
All right, that's going to do it for us. This is, what is the name of this? Good to know Shreveport-Bossier.
Darn good to know. We're going to change the name too.
Don't forget it.
Yeah, all these good stories are melting my mind. All right, you can watch this podcast wherever whatever platform you get your podcasts on. And thanks for being here, everybody. As always, this has always been good to know.